Welcome to Self-Publishing with Dale, and man, it's a Wednesday at noon. I've got a very special guest, Laura Duffy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm jazzed. I'm excited because I'm bringing a real experienced professional here to the
That's
table.
right.
So
That's right.
before we jump into things, and I'm going to get you to introduce yourself and let you take the wheel here, I just wanted to say what's up to everybody over in the Facebook group, Self-Publishing Books. How's it going? Let me know if you can hear us okay, loud and clear. And if you have any kind of questions, load us up. And my gang over at twitch.tv. Hey, what's happening? If you guys are enjoying some of this, make sure that you share it with somebody over social media and put hashtag selfpub with Dale and tag Laura. Laura, are you on Twitter?
No, I don't
No.
have much to say on Twitter. I just show my art and let it speak for itself.
There we go. So just put hashtag Laura Duffy Design. That'll help out. So, well, all right. So we're gonna jump right into things. It looks like we're good. Mojo's in the house. He said woot woot, so it looks good. Man, SPB, you guys are showing up in full force. Glad to see it. So, folks, load us up with questions. It's gonna be a jam-packed half hour. So I want to make sure that we get the most out of it that we can. So, Laura, first of all, who are you? What brings you to the table? I know we talked a little bit about book cover design, but give us a little bit of a background on you and why are you in the world of book cover design?
Well, listen, I don't know why I ended up in the world of book cover design, but I just did. I found myself at Simon and Schuster just magically, and then magically at Random House, and just was in the trenches at Random House, and then was out of the trenches at Random House, and then I found myself magically in the world of indie publishing. Really, the right place, the right time. One person led to another person, and this world is taken off. And I was like, here, let me, come to me for good book covers. You want a good book cover? I'm your man. So, and it's just, gaining all this great energy. So it's very exciting.
So it was all magical. You just kind of fell into this.
Okay, I started out in art and advertising, and then I
Okay.
applied for a job at Simon and Schuster, and then it went from there. And then I realized, man, I love reading and I love art, and it all just came together. And I was in
Yeah.
a world surrounded by really cool designers, and I said, I want to be like them. And then I just kept pushing myself, and then but yeah, when I came into the world of indie publishing, it started by somebody reached out to me. I didn't even realize that it was a thing when I was at Random House. And then I started freelancing. And then when I left Random House, I just continued to freelance. And there was a momentum there. And I tried to do other things, but it just kept coming at me. And then the world just became this place where I have a place like Readsy. I have my website, and I just have more and more people looking for exactly what I can deliver. And I'm just going with it. I'm having a good time with it. It's been fun.
So all
So,
in all, about how long have you been in this business then?
well, I was in the world of brick and mortar publishing for about 20 years. And then I've been doing this for about, I can't believe it. It's like almost 7 years. I can't believe it. It feels like it's been 3 years, but it's been good. And I've just, every day I learned something new. I help authors in, used to be just book covers. Now it's landing pages and free book giveaways and all just going down rabbit holes. And it's just, it's been a lot of, it is. And I get to meet all these really interesting people, and I get to read all this interesting stuff. I get paid to read all this stuff, and it's just, and it comes to me, and it'll be in alignment with what's going on in my life. And it's been very interesting.
So
So
just to be clear, you're not just strictly a book designer. You are all about graphic design in general.
yeah, I do logos, and I do websites, and I do, and it's because a lot of the authors are coming to me, and they want their stuff branded. They're getting more and more knowledgeable about what they need to do, especially the folks who are writing books to, become, to grow their businesses, or to just, move into a field or become thought leaders, as they say. And so they want their books to look like, they want their websites, their books, their everything to be branded. I'm developing thoughts on that as we go along, that maybe, people have to realize that their book covers should, I think to some degree stand alone because they're doing a different job than like a website or a business card or something like that. So, but I think that it's just about educating people. I don't, people are getting information from all these different places, and then I come in and I'm like, well, this is what I think. So.
Okay, I got a really good question for you. You've brought up a word I use quite a bit, but I think it bears merit in us visiting here and hanging about for just a second. What is a brand, and why is it important to authors now more than ever?
What is a brand? Well, it's just, I think, consistency, right? I mean, people want, when authors would come to me who had a bunch of books, for instance, when it was just in the world of books, one book, they wanted to have a consistent look. They wanted their name to be, the certain size, a certain font, and stuff like that. So you would have that, and now that's carrying over to everything, and so, and I think it's a valid point. So a book cover, an author can be recognized on their own when they're in a bookstore or on Amazon and stuff like that. But I think they should be allowed to just move a little bit away, because a book cover essentially is a poster. It's an advertisement for your book. It's not necessarily a place where people come and they look up your information, they read about you. This book cover has to shout out, "Hey, look at me, buy me, pick me up, read me, turn me over." So,
have you ever found that you did a book cover, let's say 10 years ago, and it doesn't do as well now, and you had to, say, repurpose it or redesign it?
yeah, I mean, when we were at Random House, there were lots of times where they'd say, "Okay, we need to repackage something. It just needs to, it's doing really well, but why don't we update it?" Yeah, definitely.
Was there much of a shift when you had to go from one thing to the other? So in other words, did you have to start with a clean slate?
I would think so. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not, you don't want it to move too far away so that it's unrecognizable, but, probably the same. I don't know. It depends. It would probably depend on, and nowadays everything's so different. When I was working on something like that, you didn't have, the world of the internet. Well, you did, but I mean, I don't know what was also going into the thinking of the people in marketing and advertising and stuff. Now I kind of have to do a lot of that, or just, be based, rely on what their peeps are telling them. But I think I don't know. I think it depended on a lot of different things.
Yeah. All right, I've got a good one here for you. And I know that we've got a lot of indie authors going to be watching this now, of course, and on the replay. So it's loaded. DIY versus professional. So can we do it ourselves, or should we hire it out a professional?
You should always hire a professional, always. And there are a lot of really good professionals out there. I mean, sometimes I'll get a client or a potential client, or, having a consult, and they'll say, I realize this person, maybe we're not a good fit. Maybe it's because of the budget or whatever. And I say, listen, there are tons of good people out there. Just go out there and look. Sometimes I'll even suggest that you go to a bookstore. I mean, this is how I've been found a lot, where you go to a bookstore, you just look at a cover you like, and you look up the designer and you give them a call. And even if there's somebody in-house somewhere, they'll probably do freelance. But, if you like an illustrator, but it's always, I think that people are realizing that it also removes a lot of the headache involved. I mean, you're spending money on this. You've put time into this book, and then, you just want something that looks really good. So
awesome. So what about those that would say, "Laura, I can't afford it"? What is your answer to that?
It is the best investment you could make. I think that you could look, then, really take the time to do a lot of research, to look at other covers that are in that genre, in that market, and really, pay attention to the feel of the books. I mean, I think that a lot of the mistakes that are made when it's do it yourself is really, the type is just, there's it's big and clunky. It looks like, there are beautiful fonts out there. I mean, what I do, I spend a lot of time finding a lot of beautiful fonts. So take the time to do that. It goes into the whole world of design, but I think that you can, there's a lot of great design out there. Knowing the difference is one thing, but like there's a lot of spacing issues that go on. There's a lot of funky colors. You can't read stuff. If things vibrate. I mean, there are basic rules of design. No red and green. I mean, it's just there's lots of stuff that goes into it that.
Oh, so much for my DIY book cover for my Christmas book. See, that's great. That's some of the information I love to hear. So maybe if you could, off the top of your head, talk about some typical violations that you see on some indie author book covers. Some things that you go, oof. So for instance, you mentioned green and red, big no-no. What's a few other no-nos you can kind of point out?
Well, I just see a lot. I mean, even sometimes I'll look at something I did and I'll think, wow, that subtitle could have been a little bit more delicate, or it could have, or this was too close together, or you just see tracking is when the space between the letters, letting is the space between the words, and it's all over the place. Or you just won't have, you'll have everything the same size, or you'll just have ugly fonts, or scripty fonts that you can't read. I think a lot of it is if you want to just, legibility. I mean, how many times do you see something that's a script that you can't read and it's on top of artwork? And when I get myself in Photoshop and I make, type legible really by adding shadows and glows and stuff that hopefully isn't even noticeable, but realizing when you can't read something. And it's hard when, even as a designer, you do need somebody to say, hey, wait, you can't read. Oh, you can't read that. Oh, I can read it. I knew what that said, so I could read it. But I think that, it's just maybe at the end of the day, you want stuff to be legible. I don't know. Trying to condense like all my life of design into, 10 minutes.
No pressure.
Right.
What's the best way to know if you've got a good cover design?
When you show it to people and they go, wow, that's great, I love it. Or, ooh, I want to pick this up. I want to, it's interesting, all the different reactions that I get from people. I mean, I love it. People will respond, oh my God, I opened this up and it made me want to cry. I mean, it's a big deal when people see their book covers for the first time.
Yeah.
Even the first round, and then they'll, we break it down, but it's the first time they're seeing their book cover as the potential, and it's very exciting for them. And every once in a while I'll nail it right, like, oh my God, and then, but most of the time we have to massage it and we move things around and stuff like that. But it's when they say, oh, I showed this to my family and they just kept touching, one person, they just kept touching the cover. I don't know why they did that. It's just, or they just, the reactions you get from other people. So.
That's really cool. Okay, connecting with people and getting an emotional trigger there. That's awesome. Take me through a process. Let's say that I become a client for you, like right now. I'm coming to you, got a brand new book. I'm going to be launching it here pretty soon. What is the process that you go through in developing and designing this cover for me?
Well, I would sit down with you and we would talk about the book, and I do like to hear what you envision for the book. I mean, I think that's a really good place to start. Then I ask for something to read. And if I have the time, sometimes I enjoy a book and I just want to read the whole thing. And so I'll read as much of it as I can. And depending on what it is, if it's fiction or nonfiction, I start putting the ideas as I'm reading. I might be highlighting stuff. I might be writing down notes about the characters, about the place, about the time periods, and all these different things. And also I'll ask for, what other book covers do you like? Or what other book covers do you hate? What do you not want this to look like? And then I go from there, and I try to, there's a lot of things. There's, reading between the lines. If you're telling me something, what do I'm also trying to get to know you and your personality and what you like. And so as I'm sitting down and I'm working on these covers, I'm getting into it, and then I realize I have to step back. Before I send it to the author, I'm like, okay, I was in my own world for all this time. Now, how does this look, and how will they respond? Yeah. And sometimes it's like right on. Other times it's like, oh wow, I didn't even think of that. So, but I think as long as they know that especially the first round is just the beginning, they're fine. And then we have a conversation, and sometimes we talk, sometimes we just email. But it's a conversation until the very end. So.
How long would the process typically last in actually getting the cover from idea to actual concept and an application? If you did that make sense? I don't know if I know how to speak today. It's time for coffee.
Yeah, I know. It depends on what you mean. Like if you're talking about my first, like the first round of comps, how long does that
Yeah.
take?
Yeah.
Um, well, once I sit down, I can be pretty fast, but I do like time because what I do is I like to give myself a nice chunk of time. I turn off my email. I turn my radio on, and then I'm just because there's a lot of it. There's searching for fonts. There's searching for images. There's just sketching. Sometimes I sketch on paper, and I try to give myself time where maybe that's a stage, and then I sit down and I put all the elements together, and then that's a stage. And if it's like with fiction, there's a lot of stuff I like to get in there, and I like to do a lot of retouching. I live in Photoshop. I just step into Photoshop, and then I'm just like, and then I come out 4 hours later, I'm like, whoa, and then and then I just sit with it, and then I go back to it, and I've learned to just kind of do work and go back. And then I think that process could take like a few days. But if somebody comes to me, especially if it's nonfiction and they need something, which I'm like, I could put it out in a day. We could go, as long as we go back and forth and we're good.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Because that sometimes, okay, I've got a book that's going to press on Monday and it's Wednesday, and it's like,
And you're like, what?
no, I mean, if I got nothing else going on, so.
When you're putting together these packages, are you typically just doing, say, ebook or print book or hardback, paperback, or audiobook?
Well, initially, I'm just designing a cover,
Okay.
and that could be for anything. And the ebook, at the end of when everything is approved, ebook, I change the specs a little bit, and that goes there. And then I have the templates, and I prepare a paperback, and then I prepare a hardcover if needed. The only time where I have to kind of rejigger it is if I'm doing an audio book, right? That's a square format. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just it's pretty much just putting it together for each thing. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so you mentioned really briefly something about your creative process and the software that you're using. Are you just sticking strictly to Photoshop when you're working out some of these things, or do you end up transitioning to another software?
I work in Illustrator and in InDesign. InDesign I use the final for the mechanical. I call it mechanical for the full layout. I really don't work in InDesign a lot. And plus, if there are any Adobe folks out there, my InDesign keeps quitting every other stroke. But anyway, I pretty much stick to Photoshop and Illustrator. And I'll go back and forth, and sometimes I might grab something off the internet that's an EPS file, and then I just bring it into Illustrator and I just rip it apart and bring it into Photoshop, or I'll create something in Illustrator. If I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll just sit down and make it. I love manipulating fonts in Illustrator. I mean, I love just everything, but I go back and sometimes I'll be going and then I'll use a key where I'm in Illustrator and it's a Photoshop thing. And I'm like, wait, what? I just have to slow down. I'm like, it's like speaking French and then speaking Spanish and then, so, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm geeking out right now about
Okay, that's all right. I want you to geek out for sure. While we're geeking out, you tapped on something that's a personal favorite of mine. I'm a font nerd. I love looking at fonts, and I have some of them where they're my go-to. Like, I just keep going back to Beabas New. I'm sorry, don't judge me. For some reason, I love it. But where are you getting some of your fonts? What are some good resources, and how much can someone expect to pay for a good font?
Well, there's a lot of free fonts out there.
Mm-hmm.
I do buy fonts. I think so. DA fonts or DA fonts. I don't know. People call. Do you know that place? DA
I usually call it DeFonts. Yeah.
fonts. That's a great place for finding fonts. You just have to make sure that when you're doing your search, you're looking for fonts that can be used commercially and are that are either public domain. That's something. I'm very conscious of with artwork and fonts, making sure that I'm using fonts that I can use that are not just for personal use only. And then there's Font Squirrel. there's lots of places where you can either purchase fonts or you can get them for free. I get a lot of emails from places offering free, they'll be on sale, so you can get this font free, and I just snatched that up. I got a whole bunch, 1,001 fonts that I purchased. So I'm swimming in fonts.
Yeah.
And this summer, I'm going to geek out. My big thing was that I went through and I organized all my fonts and I put them in folders and stuff like that. And it was just, my husband's like, what are you doing? I'm organizing my fonts. Get away from me.
Yes.
It was just, it was exciting. And then I went through and I found all these fonts that were just so beautiful. So I have a folder of like, I hope I can use these someday. Please give me a project that I can use this font with. But yeah, it's just it's a beautiful world in terms of fonts. So yeah, if you use them the right way. But and that's the thing that I try really hard to do. I try to, on each project, I don't want to get into a rut where especially if I'm in a hurry, where I just grab the font that I use, and then I look at my portfolio and it's all Bavis, it's all like just the same font, it's like, no, I don't want that. So, because I'm conscious too of my portfolio. It's not just that, not every piece is a portfolio piece, but I am when I do a cover that somebody loves, I'm like, yeah, I'm proud to put that on my website. I'm really excited to get that out into the world. So, and I don't want them all to have the same fonts. So, yeah.
What would be a recommendation to anybody that would possibly either be working with you or another cover designer? What is a good tip that you can give to them that would make the relationship conducive?
I think that when you hire somebody you're hiring a creative person, let them be creative, let them do what they want to do initially. And I'm as I'm gaining more confidence, believe it or not, even now, with my clients, I'm learning to say, listen, I'm going to be very creative this first round. You might look at the stuff I'm sending you like, what? But I'm going to be very creative and I'm going to have some fun. And then we can kind of pull back. Because I've learned that if I don't say that, if I don't preface everything with that, they're like, well, this isn't what I asked for. This isn't what I was expecting. And I said, well, I'm going to give you something that stands out, that just is really, shouts itself off the shelf, or even in, on Amazon, people are scrolling and you want them to stop. What is that? And, just to be creative, and then, just communicate, do your homework. If you can come to the table knowing what you want, what you don't want, go through Amazon, send links of stuff you love. And also a lot of people, and this has always been the case, something did really well, so you want your book to look just like that. We all want a Malcolm Gladwell cover in the 90s, and now it's black and red, which is really cool. Now there's this new trend, and it's like, I don't want to say, hey, I don't want so many black covers on my website, but that's the trend now. Everybody wants a black cover. And I remember wishing for that, but now it's like, now there's too many black covers. But it's just, not, don't worry so much about what's trending. Think about being unique. Think about standing out. Be okay with that. So.
That's awesome. It was funny. You and I had that private conversation, what was it, about a week or so ago. As soon as we were done talking, I go into Barnes & Noble, and sure enough, we were kind of talking about this simple covers now that are just selling. And I'm like, simple, 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 simple. I'm like, what the heck? Like, when did I miss the boat on this one?
Right. How do you think I feel? I'm like, I didn't step out of my house, I've been working, and it's like, whoa. So.
Amazing. But, yeah. Well, I'm going to look here over into the chat. I want to see if there's any kind of questions. If anybody has any questions for Laura, please load us up. And I'm just going to flip here. Looks like there's some chatting going on. Let's see. Really no questions at this point. Everybody's just kind of participating and talking amongst themselves. Kathy Mankin, I tried to get here sooner. It's all right. It will be available for replay over on Twitch as well as inside the Facebook group. Okay, so Laura, do you have any last-minute plugs, or where can people find you?
At my website, LauraDuffyDesign.com. I almost forgot it. LauraDuffyDesign.com.
The funny thing is, it's like right below your head. You don't.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, everybody, she can't see this. Just point down, be like this right
Somebody
here.
remind me of my website address.
Anywhere else people can find you?
On Instagram, I love to celebrate by posting my clients' work. I haven't posted for a while because I've been in the midst. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming off the press pretty soon. It seems like it comes in bursts, but yeah. So
Cool.
and then I'm always available for a chat, and I love answering questions. I always, sometimes it doesn't quite work out, but I'm always available for somebody if they have questions. So. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I know that you've been more than gracious with your time. I do appreciate you taking a little bit of time. And fun fact, folks, we're flying by the seat of our pants today. Normally, I give my guests some notes, and like I told Laura, I'm like, I don't have any notes, and she's like, what?
I didn't know F-bombs. Yay.
Yes, we had to keep it family friendly. We got the family friendly tag on Twitch. So, folks, it has been really awesome. Laura, I just want to thank you very much. Make sure you stick around after we sign off here. And if you enjoyed today's content, make sure that you share it with somebody else who would enjoy it too. In the meantime, in between time, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and on behalf of Laura Duffy, we will see you later.
Bye.